Hello, good evening. Good evening to everyone who has joined us for tonight's learning event series 7.0. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and the title for the series tonight is Ask the Mayor. And so before we begin, I'd just like to remind everyone, I'm sure you saw the House rules, but in addition to this, we would like to inform everyone that we will be prioritizing the questions sent via Zoom due to the volume of questions that we've already received. And so there is a question and answer box here on Zoom. You can type in your questions at any point of the mayor's talk, and even as the open forum is going on, and we'll try to sift through them and ask them. But if the question has been answered by the talk or by another similar question, then we hope you would understand if we would leave that be. So just remember, we will be taking questions from both Facebook Live and Zoom, but we will be prioritizing the questions sent through Zoom. All right, so tonight's learning event series is brought to you by Dumaguete City Host Lions Club and the Rotary Club of Dumaguete South. Thank you. This is the 7th in a series of learning events. And tonight, we are going to welcome Honorable Felipe Ipe Antonio B. Remollo. He is the current mayor of Dumaguete City. He attended Silliman University and finished with a degree in political science. He then studied in Ateneo de Manila University and received his law degree. In 1998, he came back to Dumaguete and was elected mayor. And in 2016, he was elected mayor once again of Dumaguete City and is the sitting incumbent. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, mayang gabi, Attorney Zara, and good evening, esteemed members of the Lions Club and Rotary Club. And mayong gabi usab sa mga kauban natong mga taga Dumaguete and perhaps na taga Negros Oriental and maybe any part of the world. Please already Zoom. Okay? We're
right. Okay, so Mayor, mulagi any part of the world kay tungod aning online platform nato karon. So we're grateful for this, and we have 30 minutes for you this evening. We would like to listen to your perspectives, your views on this issue, and we hope to learn from you tonight. Please go ahead.
Yes, unfortunately 30 minutes will not be enough, but anyway, with so many questions, I'll try as much as possible to be cover the salient features. No, you see, the most controversial project now that has hit the internet, the radio, television here and abroad is our proposed smart city project of Dumaguete City. You see, a number of our major infrastructure projects of Dumaguete are now on the finishing stage, like our 2 bridges. It's already passable, our MRF and materials recovery facility, the city's pyrolysis machine would be operational hopefully this month. We have already closed our open dam site. We have started the concreting of our future satellite market in Baumpandan. We have already almost completed our technological vocational school in Batingil, and another one to be built. We have our satellite or satellite clinic or hospital in Talay. and almost to be finished is our evacuation center, and many other projects that, of course, including the Pantawan 3, which is now on its finishing stage. Our multi-purpose sports facility and park, which is now that's right in front of Bethel and this balay na dako. Anyway, you can see on screen is our proposed smart city project. A smart city is actually the aim of the smart city is actually to harness, optimize the use of information technology to build a livable city, which is environmentally sound. No? The major features are, first, the creation or the construction of two wastewater treatment facilities, one in Tinago area to the south, and one in Look area to the north. You see, this was envisioned because of the discovery in 2019 that when it was the time when Boracay was taken over by the DNR because of the presence of E. coli, including the Manila Bay. And right away I had the waters along the boulevard in Tinago area analyzed, and the analysis was there was a presence of fecal coliform, which is about more than 1,600 in MPN, or most probable number per 100 milliliter of seawater. And so it makes our boulevard non-swimmable. It's very dangerous. So that was our attempt, an aspiration to finally solve this problem and make our whole boulevard swimmable and enjoyable. Another feature of our smart city is the creation of open spaces, parks, jogging spaces, promenades, and the use of green buildings and renewable energy, and many other facilities in that area, in that proposed smart city project. Apart from the fact that we want to create a livable space for the city of Dumaguete, it would really be a means of generating the much needed jobs that our people need for the city of Dumaguete, and generate more income for the city, so that the city in turn can afford to build hospitals for free to all its residents, to improve and even to the extent of giving subsidy to all residents. No, subsidy in terms of utilities, food, including the building of homes for the homeless, and many other socio-economic benefits that our poor people would, both poor and rich, could avail of. Now, I admittedly, our setback now is the fact that before the citizenry or the population of our city and our province would have seen this project, or the way you're listening to now, the internet, what you call this, Facebook, people have already interpreted and went out of their imagination and made false assumptions and conclusions to this project, which is still on its proposal stage. First of all, there is no detailed engineering plan yet. What you see is just a conceptual framework of the project. Along the boulevard, it's an elongated form. No, the boulevard area will be unobstructed up to the pier, and so as the Silliman Beach area will be unobstructed. You can see that there is a gap between the present coastline and the what you call islets. Actually, they say there are two islets there, or islands, but actually there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because there are gaps in between the southern and the northern islands. No, obviously for what reason? No? There are waterways that would divide these islands to enable the bangkas, motorized pump boats, no, to pass through these waterways to have access to the fishing grounds. No? First of all, the estimated distance between the present coastline and the islets would be about 30 meters, and this can be used. This will be navigable. This can be used for even for fundraising or revenue raising activities like first sports and revenue raising activities like what we see in Venice, that people or tourists can ride boats or bangkas that will bring them from the north to south or south to north. So, and the distance between from the shoreline, present shoreline, to the outermost part of the island would be no more than 250 meters, simply because after the 250-meter distance, that will be a precipice already, and which is not advisable to reclaim. Besides, this beyond 250 meters would be the pathway or the route of the boats plying from the pier to the south, or from the south to the pier. Okay, so these are the inherent limitations of our project. You can see that it's all the plan is an elongated design. There will be two fish ports in this area, and we believe that through this there will be we can revive our fishing area. We will cure, or we will solve the problem of the dirty waters, seawater in surrounding along the coastline of Dumaguete. And first of all, I'd like to address the concerns of possible damage or injury to sea life, no? Or the ecology underwater. As we speak now, I received a letter. And by the way, in order to intelligibly find out where this sea or marine life is, specifically the corals and the mangroves, we really have to know where. Really have to conduct a marine survey or a marine inventory of all this. No? As we speak, there's already a preparation for a marine survey from reputable from a reputable firm based in Cebu, with also with divers from UP and Silliman, and including a marine biologist that will really go through this to make a survey of our marine life in the coastline of Dumaguete. And it was my specific instructions that to mitigate or to lessen or even to obviate, no, to prevent any damage to the marine life of Dumaguete. I use the acronym AIR or AIR. First, avoid whatever sea life yeah, underwater, no, which is underwater. Number two, integrate into the design if this sea life is massive, and I wouldn't even go to the third, which is replace with the same quantity of sea creatures or sea life. The replace approach was used in 1995 when the DNR approved the reclamation of the SRP or the South Reclamation Project in Cebu, which is about 330 hectares. No, it was approved in June 15, 1995. I'd like to focus on paragraphs 14, 15, and 16. In short, an ECC or Environmental Compliance Certificate was issued, and I'd like you to focus on paragraph 14, which says that the quantity of coral reefs, mangrove species, and trees to be affected by the dredging excavation, okay, shall be replaced with the same quantity of artificial reefs and equivalent mangroves, etc., etc. Okay, perhaps at the time in 1995, science was not yet at an advanced stage, but now with the new technology available, we can actually integrate sea life or the creatures underwater by making an aquarium, no, an aquarium which can also be a tourist attraction without touching the area where this sea life or plants are or the corals are. So in modern technology, the use of technology to transfer corals to a different place is already being used by countries like Jamaica. We can also restore and propagate corals if these corals are really affected. No, but to do this, we have to really examine and study the actual location of these corals so that we can intelligibly integrate them or transfer them as the case may be. So the approach here is that once we know the actual topography of the marine life, we will now dictate to the proponent to design the project, the whole project, such that we can avoid any destruction of sea life, or at the very least mitigate this sea life. Let's go back to paragraph 15 of the ECC, Environmental Compliance Certificate, which says that it's important that an environmental fund shall be established to compensate whatever damage to the environment. Number 16, a multi-partite monitoring team, which we will need everyone's help and support. Those advocates of the environment for the preservation and protection of the environment are needed to consistently or regularly monitor the implementation of this. It is true that each area is has has its differences, no? Meaning the 330 hectares in Cebu may be different in compared to our coastline. But we have to know how different they are, other than the size, which is the Cebu reclamation is twice larger than the proposed Dumaguete project. In Manila, by the way, the Philippine Reclamation Authority already approved about 1,700 hectares of reclamation, creating also smart cities. Okay, 5 projects ranging from Pasay City to as far as Navotas, and these have already the imprimatur of the Philippine Reclamation Authority, but they also have to go through a process with the DNR, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. The process is so tedious and very strict. You see, because it will probably take 2 to 3 years for these projects to be for any application for reclamation can be processed and finally approved. As of the moment, okay, we have not yet commenced applying with the Philippine Reclamation Authority, and I have withheld signing of any contract or any agreement until after I have made sure that those misconceptions, exaggerations, fake news would have been addressed. It's unfortunately, as I said, naunahan na ta sa mga opposition before they have seen the concept of the project. What I'm saying, but my bottom line here is, if is it not possible that we can create a reasonable balance between economic growth and helping the economy grow and the preservation and protection of the environment? Okay, posible ba nga they can coexist, or it's already it cannot be a black or white or yes or no? Put it in the present perspective. Simplifying it is the handling of the pandemic. No, it's easy to say the government, the executive department has data and knows information that may not be available to the public, okay, or may not be known to the public. First of all, there's as I said, there's how to handle the pandemic. If the Department of Health or our City Health Office is to be followed strictly, we will have to do the lockdown because COVID, there's still active COVID cases in our city. But on the other hand, on the business side and the employment side, there is we also are listening to the need to help business, because the business also help in the employment of our people. So ato ning gibalanse, sige. So we have to make arrangements or reasonable protocols so that the preservation and protection of life because of the pandemic and the employment of our people, the economy to grow. And not, I mean, everybody's affected by this. More so in our situation now, the pursuit of this smart city project is very timely and very much needed, in a sense that we don't have to burden we don't have to loan, we don't have to burden the national government for help. We have already found a PPP proponent, all right, and that is willing to invest this sum of money in the city of Dumaguete to provide jobs and for a sustainable economic growth of our city. There are suggestions that couldn't we make this project in inland Dumaguete? I say that Dumaguete, by the way, is the smallest LGU in the whole province. Okay, you cannot no longer find a property which is a contiguous property which will be more than 20 hectares. And if you do this, if you land bank at least 100 hectares of dry land, you will be already affecting the agricultural lands in Dumaguete and the residential lands. And in reality, just the construction of the diversion road, which is about to be finished, it took us 6 years to finally settle with a property owner of 100 square meter property. Okay, inanakalisod ang pag negotiate or even expropriate a piece of land in Dumaguete. Or so with if you have to affect or destroy or demolish houses or even fences. So lisod kaayo, no? And we hope that the people will be open-minded, okay, to this pursuit. It's my belief that only after we have actually examined the topography of the marine life of Dumaguete and suggest mitigating measures that we can actually say that this is doable or not doable. This is harmful in general, or this can be mitigated. So there is nothing to worry at this point in time, because we have to go through the process, and the process is, it's very transparent. Once we have the inventory of this sea life or the ecosystem of Dumaguete, the shores of Dumaguete, then we will bring it up to the public for another round of public discussion. We are open to that, and even invite all the stakeholders to observe how this inventory of the marine life of Dumaguete will be conducted. Okay, so this, we need not resort to below the belt accusations. Okay, we can discourse, we can discuss openly, intelligibly, as a city of a university town and a city of gentle people. So there is nothing to be what you call this, very to be angry about, to be so but I like the passion. Okay, I like the passion of the people. I would assume that you're doing this for in good faith, and we will need very much your passion, your advocacy, to help build a smart city which is environmentally safe and attuned. No? Let's help each other. We welcome all suggestions, but we want the people, the intelligent people of Dumaguete, decide. When we have all this data, so that you can decide intelligibly. Rest assured, okay, that all the people, especially those who will be benefited from this, the poor people of Dumaguete, we have been going the rounds of enlightening the people, those who are the stakeholders, the beneficiaries of this, okay, whether rich or poor, because even the business sector, I believe, will be the first to be, it will be benefited in this project. It will also spur business. Okay, this is a doctrine of self-help. No, we don't have to burden again the national government, because too much reliance on the ERA is affecting a lot of LGUs. Wala nang gitawag og sariling sikap. Okay? The hardest part is to find a dedicated, rather a willing investor to invest this in Dumaguete City. And the hardest part we already have solved. Now it is just now we have realized that the hardest part now will be the convincing majority of our people to adopt this for the not just for the next 5 or 10 years, but the future generation. Because judging from the Cebu experience and other smart city projects or some reclamation projects, it would probably take another 10, at the very least 15 years to see the outcome, to see the blossoming, the realization of the investment, no, in this project. Okay. Remember, the ECC in Cebu South Reclamation was issued in 1995. Maybe we probably 10 years back. We are now 2021. In 2011, that was the only time that we realized that the development, the progress of the Cebu South Reclamation. So again, in closing, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I welcome all questions. Trust in your government. Trust in your government processes and agencies like the PRA, or the Philippine Reclamation Authority, and the DNR. If this project will not pass the strict scrutiny of these agencies, I would accept the fate, because but we will have to do our best so that it will not be said that in the remaining 11 months of my second term, I have just sat down idly, because kitong ato mga projects na mention ako, they are now ready for inauguration. So the people cannot blame me, the future generation cannot blame me that I did not try. I'll try my best to do this, but I would be willing to accept the fate of this project, going through the strict scrutiny of the DNR and the public Philippine Reclamation Authority. Mayong gabi, ug daghang salamat.
Thank you for that, Mayor. We have a lot of reactions. We've received a lot of reactions that we will be starting with. But Mayor, I just have to tell you, thank you for sharing your projects, that it's wrapping up, it's come to fruition. Also, it's such a welcome opportunity to have you join this learning event series to present your position. And hopefully tonight, you can also directly answer the questions about the project. But before we proceed to the open forum, as the issue has been the subject of many discussions and there are already a lot of questions, in order to maintain order and clarity during the open forum and ensure that the discussion remains within topic, I will be asking questions one at a time, because I will also be sifting through them as I ask them. After which you pause to consider your answer before actually giving your answer to the relevant question. We aim to get some clarity on a lot of these questions by directly addressing as many as we can tonight within the given time frame. So I hope you understand if we have a lengthy discussion and the point has already been exhausted, I will need to request that we wrap up and move on to the next question para we can cover a lot of ground tonight. All right, so with that being said, let's begin. Are you ready to start taking questions, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, well, since you mentioned or you started you ended with finding a willing investor, we have some questions surrounding EM. And we would like to ask Mr. Mayor, how did EM Cuerpo come to know about Dumaguete, and who are their contacts here? How did they come to know that this would be a place where a viable smart city can be erected?
Okay. This is a PPP contract, no? PPP, yes, it's PPP, public-private partnership mode of doing a project. Okay. As to the specifics, first of all, before this EM Cuerpo company um, proposed for the submitted an unsolicited proposal in November 25. None of the Dumaguiteños that I know from the City Hall know of this company. All right. So specifically, to put it plainly, they have no. I don't know of any contacts of these people of this company before the company filed an unsolicited proposal in November of 2019.
So EM Cuerpo had no idea about Dumaguete and did not do their own due diligence prior to giving the proposal?
That is not what I'm saying. I cannot make a second guess of how they came up with this proposal. I could just surmise that they have been to Dumaguete, they have seen the place, and it is a viable project, and otherwise they wouldn't have make this unsolicited proposal. EM Cuerpo, by the way, I understand, based on their projects, no, there is also an expert in their big projects on wastewater treatment facility. That's what I know, and projects build like bridges, um, shoreline protection projects, hospitals, and many
okay,
others.
but they have not any experience in island building or reclamation projects. Is that correct?
Well, if they have experience. Well, if
what is an island? What did they reclaim po? Baka our audience can check.
If you are basing it with their authority to or their on the PCAB license, they're authorized to do offshore engineering or reclamation projects, offshore reclamation projects.
But have they actually done any?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is a project that you can give as an example, Mayor? I'm sure the audience would like to know, because I think what the audience knows is that they are inexperienced in this field. So maybe you can give some examples of projects, reclamation projects.
You see, the project that I'm saying is that it's there, no? I think it's an offshore engineering. That's offshore engineering. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, they have projects, not bigger projects like this project. That's this 23 billion reclamation project. By the way, this smart city project is a bundled project, meaning reclamation is just part of the bundled
but
project.
It is what kicks off the project, correct? Because
yes,
it will have to build off an island, and then from there, once that's all stable, then that's when all the other components of the smart city begin to be built. Yes. So I think
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mayor, for this part of the question lang, no, I might have to proceed na lang kasi
okay.
the question lang is if they have any projects that they've already engaged in where we can say, okay, EM Cuerpo was the contractor for this particular reclamation project.
You see, has a subcontract agreement with a Chinese company, state-owned, which is Polychangda. Okay. The one thing good here is that they have subcontracted this reclamation works as a for because this China company is an expert in this field. So the selection committee, okay, because I was not part of the I'm not part of the selection committee, already passed through this through all the qualifications, no? So like big companies like Schumart, San Miguel companies are now doing reclamation projects. They partner with big foreign companies to do this to subcontract certain expertise. So in other words, I would like to say that ang expertise ng EM Cuerpo per se is not on reclamation per se. Okay, so that is what I can say, but it does not prevent it does not prevent them from doing from subcontracting the reclamation part of the project.
The expertise side of it comes from their partner, the subcontractor, China, yes. China's Polychangda, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right. So we can move on to some preliminaries, Mr. Mayor, kasi there were some other questions that were raised. For example, there was a statement made, and I think this is something that we can clarify, no? And I hope that you don't mind because this is an old, I think half a month ago. I think you made a statement that said there were no corals the coastline of Dumaguete, and apparently there were amateur videographers that went and dived and produced some videos of this. Would you like to clarify what you meant when you said there were no corals?
First of all, may I ask the proponent of that question, the one who propounded that question, if she or he has heard my interview with Karen Davila. What I actually said was that I alerted Karen Davila. I told her that please check on your people there because I doubt if the one that they shown on video is a faithful video or yes of the coastal or the coral life in Dumaguete City. And I even told baka sa kwan yan, baka sa Apo Island na. And it also kwan, yes. And Karen Davila said when it was already over, and he said, I better check with that with staff mayor.
All right. So Mayor, you're saying that
how can I say wala?
You're saying you did not say walay corals sa atubangan sa Dumaguete. Okay, sige.
It's impossible.
Okay. Maumangkod ng pangutana diri, gipangutana nga ningo no kang walay corals. So a lot of people went out and actually shot videos of the marine life in Piapi Beach.
It was a result of again a fake misinterpretation. But I actually said you better check because I don't believe that is the coral situation. That is why I said. Okay, that's why I said the only time we will know the actual coral situation in Dumaguete or the sea life in Dumaguete is to conduct a marine survey, which the proponent will be doing in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, all right. That's good, Mayor, na imong naklaro na kay
Yes, I did not
you said earlier, no, and I would like to hark back to what you said earlier na in spite of the ruckus that we have now, I think you mentioned that it's good. You assume that people are participating and engaging in good faith. So
yes,
I
yes.
think what we want to do this evening is actually to clarify the
Not,
issues.
you know,
Let's see what's true, what's not, and so
mhm.
hopefully we can do that by answering the questions. And I would also like to say na lang na let's try to counter. Let's not mention na lang the fake news because we really don't know. Some people are in good faith saying that they have heard that it has been
Wala, wala.
said. So
Fake
now
news.
that you said na wala, then it's
Git
good
twist.
that
Git twist. How can I say that? That'll be irresponsible if I say that. Okay?
okay.
No alcohol in
All right.
Dumaguete. It is like
Going
saying walay isda sa Dumaguete.
sige.
Uh,
Next question, Mayor. These are just the preliminaries pa
yes.
pero
Okay.
kuan kaning another statement that they wanted to have clarified is that you mentioned that uh, there are 70% poor constituents here sa Dumaguete. So ganahan nga ipa-clarify ni nga statement because apparently there is 2015 data from the Philippine Statistics Authority that show only about 12% poverty incident. So would you like to
Okay. Yes, yes, yes.
clarify?
These are not based on the Philippine statistics. My statement when they said about 70% are poor. I would be including I would be including all those unemployed and all those even those employed in city hall. They cannot afford to at times when sickness or strike them, they cannot they go on the seek financial aid sa city. I by poor by 70%, I include all those underemployed, and especially in the times of pandemic, because it is my experience that every day people go to me, people go to the officials, barangay officials to seek help and beg for assistance, medicine, hospitalization, food, uh, electric and water bills. It is our daily experience. That's what I said. Okay? And if you tell anyone in Dumaguete, even the pedicab drivers, those who are self-employed, I consider them poor. And now, because of the pandemic, even those who have who you think will not be affected, those who have businesses here are also affected. So that is what I mean by poor. It's not the
Mm.
statistics that you are saying now, because in other words, galisod ang mga tao. At least 70% of those I know, galisod yun. That is what I mean poor. Okay, homeless. There's a survey in 2018 that we have sa atong tanang barangays moabot og over 10,000 homeless in Dumaguete City. Times 5 no, times 5 na nimo homeless, that will be 50,000 people who are homeless. That will be included in the term of poor. So 50
Okay.
mil, 135 na ta. Okay? Don't be
Well, I think
excited about the
I think
70%.
the numbers matter, Manggod. I think that's
Yeah,
why there was a need for clarification no kung
yeah,
unsay
okay.
basis the
Yeah,
number because
the
if we
unemployed,
look at the
everything.
data, I
Mm,
think the data will show a different number. And so it's nice that
yeah,
you clarified that
yeah.
this 70% estimate is based on your own estimates.
Yes,
Anecdotal evidence, no?
correct,
Imuhang kaugalingong experience.
correct, correct.
Although kung ganahan mo check ang mga tao, dili siya mutugma sa data nga naa katong 2015. So I think
Yeah,
that's another bone of
the data is
contention, no?
only
Oo.
the data. And what year was that taken? Dili
Oo,
sa
pero
pandemic. Dili
kuan
sa
man
yan
gud
kay
Mayor,
ano.
there's just an opposing views siguro no regarding data, because there's a comment here that said that it's important to be factual and not anecdotal. So I think at least
I agree.
we've
I agree
clarified.
that is my definition of poor.
Yeah, okay. I think
That's
we've clarified that.
Yeah.
We can proceed to the next questions. I think one last preliminary. What exactly does the 23 billion cover? Because I think, in the MOA, it does not mention that the facilities and the other bundled amenities of this smart city will be covered by the 23 billion. So maybe you'd like to clarify?
All right. I'll show you the MOU. It's not MOA.
Okay.
I don't know what the base is. It's there. It's all there. The 23 billion is not just the reclamation portion. It's all here. The scope of works covered by the 23 billion project are shoreline slope protection, internal road network, internal bridges, you can see it there, drainage systems, so storm surge protection, access ways, security detachments, buildable lands for commercial, and roughing for business continuity management. Then ancillary businesses, all right, including this.
So the 23
Marina,
billion will
terminal,
not include the ancillary businesses, or includes that?
including the ancillary, because this ancillary business, we earn from this 25%. Without any capital, we earn 25% of the revenues.
But the 23 billion itself, that
No.
cost, is that going to cover the creation of these facilities, a marina, a bus terminal, a yacht club, or is it for the island building and
alone?
the systems?
No. It includes the bridges, includes wastewater treatment facilities, because it's part of their prestation, it's part of their doables, no, or deliverables. Marina, bus terminal, yacht club, ferry, clubhouse, and actually the selection committee will report, based on the selection committee report, all of these na ay projected revenue generation ang submitted for the next 25 years. Basta 25% of whatever income from these ancillary businesses will be part of the revenues to the city government. Wala na PRA. So the PRA only shares in the land, not sa ancillary businesses. Appeal na sa 23 billion.
So your reading of this provision, Mr. Mayor, section 3.1, Roman numeral 1, letters A to H.
No.
That one is clear.
MOU.
Yeah, MOU, the latest version.
Okay.
Memorandum of Understanding. Section 3. Sakto ba?
Okay.
Yeah, section 3. Section 3, 3.1, Roman numeral 1. And then Roman numeral 1 shows that the scope of works covered by 23.354 billion project cost. And then there's an enumeration, no? A to H. Karon, ang Roman numeral 2 is not part of the enumeration.
Yeah, it's part of
So
the.
your interpretation here is that it's part of Roman numeral 1's enumeration. Is that correct?
Well, they will do that. Part of their deliverables. But the bottom line here is this: whether or not their estimate is correct, they have to deliver this ancillary business to the city.
Okay, so they committed in principle to pay for this.
They not only in principle, by contract, they will deliver that.
Is it this contract? Is it this contract that you are showing us?
Yes, MOU. But this MOU is subject to the final contract, which is the PPP contract, which will be entered into between the city and PRA and the developer or Cuerpo, only after we have gone through the process of DNR and the PRA. and it will again go back to the city council for the making of an ordinance for another round of public discussion.
Okay.
Ang MOU, let me clarify, is not the PPP contract that people are, some lawyers or some people are saying na ito na yon. No, because if you see this contract in 6.2.3, this MOU, it says there 6.2.3, 6.2.3. Okay, it says here, na makita naman mo kanino, that upon the issuance of reclamation permit and the notice to proceed by the city and the PSP shall enter into PPP contract to be approved by the Sanggunian pursuant to PPP ordinance. So obviously this is the MOU is not yet the PPP contract, which will still going to be entered into. Should
Okay.
all
Well,
this and another one, 9.2, another one, sorry, 9.3, to show you that it's really not a contract. It says here, 9.3, it says here that should in the event that the application with the Philippine Reclamation Authority and DNR to pursue this project shall be denied with finality, then there's nothing to worry, because all rights and obligations under this contract shall become will be without force and effect.
all right. Okay, so
So that's the
Mr. Mayor,
protection of the city,
it raises some questions, no? Pero before we get to the questions regarding this MOU and how it's not the PPP contract, there is a question that asks, oppositors are saying that you don't need this MOA to start the application process with the PRA. The law aside, can you explain how having a, let's call it an MOU because that's the name, the MOU with EM Cuerpo will now benefit Dumaguete? So in short, I think the question is, what is the purpose of this MOU if you're saying that this is not the contract envisioned by the
this is not the final contract. This is not the final contract, because the final contract will be still go through the process of, let's say, for example, the PRA. Nothing in this contract which says how much, how big an area will the PRA benefit from. No,
correct. But I think the question is, how can having this MOU be beneficial to Dumagueteños?
Yes. Correct. First of all, this MOU, when we apply with the PRA, by the way, has advisors, no, like the NEDA and the Department of Finance and the DNR. Now, before after we had that, the city would have applied PRA, and before the MOU with the PRA would be executed, the PRA will have to ask us how financially viable is this project and who will undertake this project. If without this MOU, the PRA would assume that it's the city that will pay for everything, because we have nothing to show them that we have already a private party that will undertake this financing this project. So mangutana na sila with the city's third class classification, and with us not loaning any money, 23 billion, it will be denied, because nothing will show, there's nothing to show PRA that we have already a partner. Besides, in this contract, it says there that the private proponent will pay for all application fees, processing fees, etc., which will even go to the millions of pesos. At least three sa DNR pa lang, sa mga ECC, sa PRA, it will reach millions of pesos. So wala ikuan eh. With this, we cannot hold the private party we cannot tell the private party to pay for this for this application for the processing fees without a contract with them. Okay.
So you're
So
saying,
that is the necessity.
that
The
this
necessity.
contract, you're saying that this contract, this MOU, is a
Yes.
way by means you wish to hold the PSP accountable for the fees that need to be paid when the city will apply with the PRA. Is that correct?
That's one. Second is that we have to prove to PRA that it's not the city that will fund this, but it's another party. It's a
But I
private
think in the
party.
process with the PRA, I did not see that that is necessary. Could you identify where in the IRR that is stated? Because I think in the IRR of the PRA, they do mention that the city or the LGU will initiate. There are pre-qualification requirements, but then eventually there will still be this competitive bidding. So,
Yeah,
so
I'll show you a what? I'll show
does
you
not,
a template of the PRA contract.
yeah, maybe not the template, sir, but the provision that requires that you already have a partner. Yun siguro yung helpful.
Yes, but because it template, it says there that how can you prove to PRA that it's not the city is going to finance this unless it has a MOA MOU, which is not yet the PPP contract, because in this MOU, it's not complete to make it a PPP contract. Kay ang PRA would still decide on how much would be the sharing. The PRA can even say it's
Yes,
60-40.
understood, sir. But I think
Yeah.
the question lang is because you said that having a partner is necessary for the application with the
Yes.
PRA. And
Yes,
I
yes.
think just for clarity's sake,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was asking if you could point to a provision in the IRR that states that, because if you read the contents of the IRR, it does not specifically state that it is a requirement. So I think maybe that would clarify lang this
Yeah.
particular point.
We have a template which was shown to us by PRA of an agreement which says there, right? This is a template of the agreement up sa second, sa first part lang. Sa, it says there, okay, and Philippine Reclamation and indicate the government entity or qualified Filipino individual or private entity with office address at, okay, yan. So, in other words, okay, name
So
of representative.
you're basing your assertion on this template where
Yes. And
it is
also,
mentioned
yeah,
that you indicate the government entity or the qualified Filipino individual or private sector entity. This is your basis for saying that
and,
it
and
is a
also,
requirement to
yeah,
have a partner when you
yeah,
apply for reclamation with the PRA. Is that
yeah, because,
correct?
yes, because how can
Okay, all
we,
right.
and also on the logic that how can we pass scrutiny sa PRA that we are capable of undertaking the project if we don't have anything in writing that a
Yeah, but
private
I think
entity, yes, yeah,
Mr. Mayor, that's the reason why the feasibility studies are required and all these other plans for approval. But anyway,
yes, but
I
anyway,
think we have
whatever it is,
exhausted this point because we cannot
yeah,
pinpoint a particular provision in the IRR that requires a partner. So perhaps we can move on. We have a lot of other questions. Maybe we
yeah.
can move on from the contracts and proceed to the other questions regarding, for example, all right, this now touches on real property taxes. From when can the city start collecting real property taxes? From day one of the construction of the project or only after the parcels of land are apportioned and titled?
That's basic info.
Yeah,
Until it's
maybe you
yeah,
need to elaborate on this?
No, it's not. It's not a problem. It did not even be. It did not even be stated in any contract. We can only, we can only impose real property taxes when the property is already in the hands of a private individual. When it's in the hands, or rather in the name of the private individual, the city cannot tax itself real property tax, nor the national government. However, the buildings that would be erected on the on the on the smart city project, or on the land, no, would still be subject of real property tax, whether these buildings are in on the land area owned by the national government, or the city government, or the private entity.
Right. And so just to clarify, no, the process is a bit long because you will have the reclamation, and then after that, it will have to
Yes,
go through a
yes,
process of
yes,
titling, special
yes,
patent, presidential proclamation, and then
yes.
after that, it will go
It's
to
a
the
long process.
city. Yeah. So
It's a long process.
how long do you estimate that to be?
Well, the based on the template of MOU, first it will take at least 2 years and a half for the city to go through DNR, PRA, DNR, and back to PRA. So 2 years and a half. Depends. Okay, and the commitment is that uh, the project include just horizontal the horizontal development. It will take 3 years from the award, from the
Hmm.
notice to proceed. So 3 years plus 3 years, already 6 years. All right. So depends on how receptive the future locators will be. It could take from 6 years. It could take another 5 to 10 years. So the process is long. I will not be. I'm sure I will not be mayor even at the time of the approval of this project. But we have to start somewhere. We have to start application. So if the applications, if they're defective, we will not pass scrutiny sa PRA. Or there are some deficiencies, we will not pass through scrutiny sa DNR. So really, if there are deficiencies, we will have to weaken, or we will have to comply. Okay, if there are, no, but we have to apply first in order to know what are the deficiencies. Okay.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
so you project that it will take about 6 to 10 years before
Six
anything
years.
comes to fruition.
Yeah, maybe
Uh,
5. Oh,
so in that respect, Mr. Mayor,
yeah.
have you considered other paths for growth and employment that better suit the current profile of a university town like Dumaguete? Maybe like the development of a BPO industry with national revenues expected to grow to $29 billion and
BPM,
is
how do you
expected to
put?
add more
Yeah.
than 130,000 jobs by 2022. Is this not a feasible path to consider as opposed to this big reclamation project?
Well, it's not a one. It's not a a BPO project. It's part of the the facilities that would be in the smart city project. Well,
Right. But I
in
think the
other words,
question
yeah,
what the
yes,
question is asking is not as part of the smart city, but inland Dumaguete, can we
yes,
not cultivate?
yes. You
Yeah.
know, it's easier said than done. I have challenged 5 big landowners in Dumaguete. First, we don't have money to afford their lands. I even told them, or the city can loan. If maybe those 5 big landowners, I told them, can what would happen if I expropriate your property at 2,000 per square meter? Would you allow it to happen, or you would hire lawyers to oppose it? So It's really impossible to, considering the size of Dumaguete, 3,300 with barely 500 or 400 hectares for agricultural land and a lot of lands now devoted to residential purposes. Well, it's easier said than done. Okay,
So you're
so we have
saying that
already. It's
this
my
is not
experience.
this is
Yes,
not
yes,
possible.
it's not possible.
Okay, so
It's
I think the message is clear that developing other alternatives for employment is not possible inland, and
inland,
what you deem as feasible and possible is the reclamation project, and then building there, and then establishing industries on that
We
island.
don't have the
Is that correct?
luxury of space. We don't have the luxuries of space as Bayawan, Gihulngan, and another reason is that I want to preserve the inland as as a historical site, as a the serenity of the inland. We just have to master plan it that it will not, the informal settlers are being taken care of, and I knew it will be some kind of a heritage area or a old city and a new well-planned city, because when you master plan or when you start fiddling or reconstructing the old city, you will have to make a lot of compromises there in terms of the people, the properties that will be affected. So it will
Okay.
really take so much time.
I think we can touch a little bit more on that in the other questions. There's a question here. The city should ensure that not just the Dumaguete job pool be exhausted before a job is filled by a foreign worker, but the job pool of Negros Oriental and the rest of the Philippines before any jobs are filled by foreign workers.
I agree.
I'll finish the question. This must go through a city and DOLE vetting process before any jobs are filled by foreign workers, and a provision by the city must be made to ensure this is enforced, and that any violation and circumvention of this be criminally or civilly punishable by law. So a question to this is that it has been raised that if the reclamation will be done through dredging, which is a very technical field, who would be working during this process, the dredging process, and when EM Cuerpo, the contractor and the subcontractor, comes to begin island building? Will it be the constituents of Dumaguete? Will they be hired, or will other nationalities or other maybe employees from different regions be brought in?
You see, there are existing laws that already cover those instances. You cannot get a working permit from our DOLE, Department of Labor, if you're a foreigner, if there are locally available individuals who have the same skills to do that.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and this is not just the making uh, of the project, but it is when you make the buildings, when you fill the buildings with let's say BPOs, with the students and all the nurses in the hospitals, etc., etc. By the way, if this will be, I cannot speak for the contractor, no, but I can already foresee that an ordinance can be made to this effect. That's one. It has been done in Cavite, sa industrial park, that all workers should come from Cavite, except for highly technical people. Okay, and the DOLE, the immigration, and the DFA will not allow foreign workers unless there are no available uh, skilled workers in the Philippines. Second reason is that it will be uh, logistically advantageous to the contractor if they get local. Our Dumaguete, our minimum wage is about 370, 380. Even compared to Manila or Cebu's higher minimum wage, more so with foreigners. The foreigners, you should talk of China. I think it was mentioned na as of late, mga 2,000 plus yuan ang ilang minimum wage. Times 7.7, maabot of 20,000 pesos.
So it
So,
is your
yeah,
opinion that these jobs for the building of this island will go to the locals who may not have maybe a background on this, or are you saying that it depends? It depends on the technical expertise available in the local pool, and it will depend on the contractor because they'll be the ones doing the
yes.
work.
Dili naman na dredging. Let's say, for example, if they use dump trucks, there are drivers. They cannot, the drivers are preferably from Dumaguete. And the Dumaguete drivers cannot even, you can hardly find maybe 1,000 or 2,000 drivers. It would have its rippling effect on the whole labor force of Negros Oriental and even outside of Negros Oriental. So
Okay,
it's not,
thank
it's
you.
not
Thank you for that,
yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
yeah.
I think if we venture into the dump trucks discussion, there are questions here that talk about the effects also of having all these trucks pass through such narrow streets. So we're going to get to that later. But related to the questions on jobs, what
Yeah.
initial plans have been outlined in order to ensure employment? Okay, this was asked earlier. The question now is, have things like quotas been discussed? Meaning, is there a quota that you are talking about with the contractor that if you're going to start building here, you need to hire X% of locals?
Well, that can be incorporated in the, if that's a good suggestion, then we can be incorporated in the PPP contract. There's no prohibition from doing that. As I said, the city council can pass an ordinance to that effect. Well,
All
about
right.
the PPP contract, it can be incorporated. So if the city has an ordinance, we can just say that the PPP contract has to abide by the existing ordinances of the city.
A follow-up to this is, are retraining and upskilling plans being considered in order to allow the local labor force to adapt to the industries that are expected or likely to be set up in the smart city?
Correct. Thank you for that question, because we have a partnership now with TESDA. In fact, the provincial training school of TESDA is being built in a land owned by Dumaguete City. So we anticipate even those displaced, supposedly if there are fisher folks that will be displaced, they will be trained sa atong TESDA. We have a partnership with the TESDA to as I said, to retool our labor force so that the much needed jobs with particular job descriptions will be met by our local labor force.
All right. There's a question here, Mr. Mayor. Is there a risk assessment completed for the project outside of the environmental impact? This pertains to the project's viability and any factors that could adversely impact the completion of the project. For example, capital funding, regulatory risks, resourcing risks, logistical risks, and all other risks imaginable. Maybe an addition to this is, who do you envision investing in this smart city?
Okay. As I said, and I have to mention again, when you apply with the PRA, the financial feasibility will be a requirement. No, feasibility is on the financial aspect, and it will pass through the opinion of NEDA and Department of Finance. If in their assessment this does not fly or meet the requirements, then it will be denied. So it is now up to the city or specifically to the proponent to justify it with the PRA.
All right.
So
Okay,
in other words, there
so
are agencies that will take care of it.
okay, but I think that the questions are coming from the available documents now. And so I think maybe this is a big part of the reason why there have been such heated debates, because
Yeah.
I think it's a very important development to talk about. And the absence of availability of the information and even maybe concrete plans is, a cause for concern for some. So I think that's why the questions are coming, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I know. In fact, I'd like to clarify that there are no detailed engineering plans yet, unless and until it's being required by the PRA and the
Right.
DLR. Okay,
But
so
okay,
that's why we cannot discuss the detailed engineering plans unless they are ready.
but
In fact,
to but to
I am for
but
the
to
side
jump
of
on
the
that,
people.
but to jump on that statement, Mr. Mayor, maybe you can clarify to the audience, no, what is the role of the 2021 PPP ordinance in all of this? Because in the 2021 PPP ordinance, there are three stages to this process. And in fact, the first stage includes the draft PPP contract already and the feasibility studies, etc. And the third stage is the Swiss challenge or the competitive challenge. Now, I think a lot of the confusion stems from the fact that there was a Swiss challenge conducted last April. And so maybe you can use this time to clarify what is the
Yes.
role of 2021 PPP ordinance. And in addition to that, if you will consider, the proposal was received in 2019, November. So would it not be the case that it's the 2016 ordinance that applies?
It can be debated upon, no? But under the selection committee considered the amendment as the amendment of the ordinance because it's a continuing thing. You see, the 2016 VP ordinance was already superseded by the 2021 uh, amendatory ordinance. All right.
Okay.
Now, as to your concern on um, the feasibility study, there is such thing as this is really a confusion because people already assume that although there is such thing as a feasibility study, there is also such thing as an initial feasibility study, because only until you the proponent has gone through the marine survey, the actual size of the project, because maybe through the marine survey, the 174 can just be 74 or whatever it is. It's not feasible. So there will be a permanent or rather a feasibility study submitted already to PRA. PRA, yes. Once the detailed engineering plans are ready and finalized. Because as of now, these are only conceptual plans and initial feasibility study. Until we go through the physical and actual marine survey, okay, and the approvals by the PRA or the DNR, there cannot be a final feasibility study. There cannot also be a PPP contract that is with finality. You
In
see?
the
Yeah.
2021 ordinance, the procedure is clear. So perhaps you can clarify how you will marry the interpretation, because it seems as if there was a semblance of following the procedure, especially with the Swiss challenge stage 3, but it's being said that stage 1 was not completed because there was no feasibility or project study, and
Yeah, no,
it is
initial
being
feasibility study.
asserted that there is also no draft PPP contract. So
Yes.
where does the ordinance come into play?
You see, as I said, there is an initial feasibility study, first of all, no? And if there are
Has this been
infirmities,
released?
rather, if there are infirmities in
Where
the,
where is the where is the initial feasibility study? Has it been released? Because I don't think the
no,
public
no, no, no.
knows.
Yeah, it's all in the, documents submitted to the selection committee. The problem there
Okay.
is that, yes, yes. And
Will you make the documents available to the public po if
yeah,
they
it will
request,
be,
if the
yes,
citizens
yes, yes, yes.
request?
But on the legalities, those who are really bent on opposing this, you should pray that there are infirmities, because if you
Well,
pass, yeah, no, no, because if this
no, but
pass through, it
Mr.
will not pass
Mayor,
through.
I think
Yes,
I think that's unfair. I think that's unfair to say, because if we look at it from a purely objective
correct,
perspective,
correct.
right? It's
No,
not
no,
to say that people are bent on opposing, but I
no, no,
think
no.
what
To
people are
those,
trying to do, no, because
those,
you said people are bent on
no, no,
opposing. I
no. To
think
those
from
who
a
are opposing
purely
it,
purely objective perspective, it's because it's unclear. There's no
no, no,
transparency.
no. There are
Kaya we're
people.
having this dialogue now so that
Correct,
we can
correct.
uncover what
If you have,
is it really.
again, if you have, I said, to those who are bent on opposing this, okay, they should be lucky. They should be happy that there are bent, meaning those who have closed their minds already. Okay,
Yeah,
let me
but I,
clarify. No, no,
yeah, but I
those who
don't
have
think that's
clarified.
helpful language, Mr. Mayor naman.
No, no, no. It is helpful because
I
if
think
there are yeah, yeah, if there are legal infirmities,
yeah.
then it will not pass through TPRA. Meaning we are
Mm,
lawyers. You are a
yes.
lawyer. I'm a lawyer. Supreme Court justices differ in their
Oh yes,
appreciation
but
of
then they
law. That
differ
is
on
why.
very
No,
specific
no, no. You
already.
do
This
not
one is
assume.
kind
You
of
are
this
already.
is a large question, because my question is, where does the 2021 PPP ordinance factor in? That's the question, because
No, no,
I
my
think
answer
this is
it
what's
has.
generating the
No, 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 no.
commotion.
What is generating the confusion is that those who have different interpretation sa members sa selection committee. Okay? Okay. So if you differ, then there are other avenues. You can go to court and question this, because I cannot force anyone, any lawyer, any individual to take our position on this. For
Yes, but what
example, the
is the
MOU, for
position? What
example,
is the position, Mr. Mayor? I think that's
yes,
just the question. What is
yes,
your position on the role of the
for example,
2021 PPP ordinance? Because there's a
it,
procedure, and in
yes,
fact,
yes.
give me a moment, because
Okay.
in fact, in section 3B of the PPP ordinance, it
Mhm.
talks about the general welfare and the public good shall always be promoted, and that transparency, public accountability, and social accountability mechanisms and approaches shall be integrated in PPPs from inception to implementation. And so this is the reason why I think the questions are kind of, revolving around the 2021 PPP ordinance, because there was no transparency until
No,
the move to have the letter of authority given
that
to
is
the
that is
mayor.
your that is the
Uh,
precisely that is the question. That
yeah.
is why we're handling. We are going through the process of public information, public consultation, because then again, at this point in time, there is no PPP contract to talk about.
So
And that's
your
why,
the process here in section 18, it is of your view that you did not undergo this process. Is this
it's not
correct?
that. It's not that. It is my position that the selection committee underwent all these processes. And it is our position, based on the selection committee, that everything is above board. Now,
Okay, so if the
if ever,
selection committee underwent all the processes, it is
yes,
clear in section 18 that there needs to be a feasibility or project study and draft PPP contract. So
yeah,
I
okay,
think that's
okay,
the
yeah,
question. Where
precisely.
is it?
these are in the documents submitted to. These are, remember, proposed PPP contract. All right, proposed PPP contract, which
Draft even, yeah.
yes, draft. You cannot the draft or proposed PPP contract. It remains a proposal unless adopted by the city. Correct. These
No,
are
correct.
part
But
of the
the
yes.
point, Mr. Mayor, is that there is no draft
No,
proposed PPP contract to speak of, but there's an MOU. So I think what just
no, no,
needs
no,
to
no,
be
no.
clarified
Precisely.
is
I'm telling
what is
you,
this process?
we
What is
don't.
the process?
You see, the point is that is part of the confusion because you assume that there is no proposed PPP contract or proposed JVA. It is
So
a requirement. It is a
there
requirement.
is a
A proposed.
PPP
No, no.
contract, a
A
draft.
proposed. No, I proposed because it is an unsolicited proposal. The
Mm-hmm.
government does not have to agree to the PPP contract. That's why in the MOU we refer that the PPP contract uh, will only be executed after all this. It's in the MOU itself.
No,
That's
correct.
why yes,
But
it's in the
I
MOU.
think we're not talking about the MOU, sir. We're talking
It
about
is.
the 2021 PPP
Yes,
ordinance.
and
So I think
yeah,
maybe we're trying to clarify, right?
and
In section
yes.
18,
If you
there
want,
are three stages.
you
There
want a
are three
clarification. You
stages.
want a
Uh-huh.
clarification. I told you. I said that's precisely the point. People do not have the people do not know that there is a proposed or a draft PPP contract or a JVA that is proposed by the proponent. All right. It is only
Where is it? And is
it is in
this
part it is part of the documents that were submitted
so is
by
this
the and
don't
there
you
is
think that in the
and by the
interest of
way,
transparency and
yes, and you
public
cannot ask.
accountability, these
Yes,
documents need to be released?
it will. Yes, yes, it will be
I
because
think
by the
some
way,
requests have been made to
no,
your office.
no
Uh,
feasibility study.
it,
No, no. By the way, feasibility study. By feasibility study is the initial feasibility study. This will be explained by the representative of the selection committee. All these documents are available. The only problem is one of I don't know. We suspect that one of the members of the selection committee gave the public or whoever they are copies of the documents available to them. So we thought that all these documents were already available to them because all the members of the selection committee have copies of the proposal.
but shouldn't that have been the default anyway? The documents should have been made public
No,
because isn't the mandate or the operative principle transparency?
yes,
I think
transparency.
maybe
You
that's the
see,
question. Yeah.
yeah, yes, the point is, before I can even read some of those documents, you know who they are. They're already posting in the Facebook. They have their own interpretation. So that's the confusion. That's the confusion. It will boomerang or it will be clarified. Like for example, the strongest or this an argument which says that this cuerpo is not financially qualified based on the net worth. But it's there in the NFCC, in the net financial contracting capacity, that they are qualified, more than qualified to do the job because it is based on the NFCC submitted by the proponent. They are 28,719 million qualified to do a project as large as 28.719. Otherwise, this would not pass scrutiny sa selection committee.
Okay, well,
But I don't,
I
yes,
think we've gone beyond. I think we've exhausted this topic because the question lang, Mr. Mayor, was how
yeah,
is the 2021 PPP ordinance
yes,
factoring
yes,
into
and
the
you were saying
discussion?
that, and you were assuming that there is no draft or proposed PPP contract or JVA and no feasibility study. I told you, for your clarification, that these documents were submitted, part of the documents submitted to the selection committee. All
So
right, so
why
it's
were
there.
there there were a lot of pronouncements that there was no draft PPP contract.
No,
I
it is
think in
no,
the
no. What would be the confusion?
council hearing, I think it was Councilor Ramon who kept repeating that there was none. And I think
No,
that contributed to the I
no,
guess the misunderstanding that there
no.
are documents pala, but they're just not being released to the public.
No, yeah,
That's the understanding, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Na
mean, that's why we
it's
are here
there.
to clarify. I'm
Uh-uh.
here to clarify. No, the what perhaps was misinterpreted was the fact that what we are saying, the government is saying, the executive is saying that there is no PPP contract yet, even proposed to be approved by the council. It's still an MOU.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
the
anyway,
MOU
I think,
precisely
Mr.
that's the
Mayor,
precisely,
we're going around in circles because
yes,
I do
yes,
want to go back to the ordinance, but I think we can leave this na lang.
yes, yes, yes,
We can proceed to other questions na lang.
yes,
All right.
yes.
Let's talk about population growth. There's a question here that states, what overall population growth does the city government anticipate for this expansion? And can this realistically be supported by the available resources? For example, power supply, water, food, etc. If not, what are the city government's plans to increase resources to meet the anticipated increase in demand? And what are the contingencies to address any shortfalls?
Well, you're going ahead, no, of the project, which is also good. Huh? Suppose it will be approved in the next 6 years. We still have time to uh, to coordinate with first Power Noreco has to prepared for this. Manila Metro Dumaguete Metro Dumaguete Water should be prepared for this, and other uh, suppliers or service providers. They should be prepared for this. Now,
Well,
on the
so
second
I
thought,
think at this
another one is the promoted itself. I don't have the based on their they can even decide to put up their own power in the 174. If they find out that the Noreco or the Metro Dumaguete cannot provide the necessary power or water for them. So then again, there is not no. It will still be based on the final feasibility study. This will be master planned well. You know, we are going ahead of this because uh, I even suggested this will be should be master planned by the known master planners, perhaps in Singapore. They are supposed to be experts in this in master planning.
Okay, so I'm assuming that the project proposal does not include a plan to address the intermittent supply of electricity and water yet,
Do not
right?
make some
Because
assumptions. Do not make some
no,
assumptions.
because you said no, you said that the proponent can explore putting up their own power, etc., on the
Yeah, that's
reclaimed
possible.
island.
Yeah, in
So
the next 6 years,
yes,
first they have to. I mean, if I were the proponent, I would uh, I would explore first the existing service providers. Kung kulang, kung is insufficient, then I can provide my own power source.
okay, but this is not yet happening now,
No,
correct?
it
Okay,
can, no, no, not happening
okay.
now. As we speak now, they are now
It's not
they
part
are
of their study.
no. As we speak
Okay.
now, I know that there are parang exploratory talks with water and I don't know yet with electricity, but I know
Okay.
that so water there are exploratory talks already.
All right. Another question, how does the project plan to address transportation issues? The expansion implies an increase in population and therefore an increase in the number of vehicles. How is the rest of the city going to cope with a higher traffic density given most existing roads are narrow and not built to accommodate these higher level of vehicle volume? Is there a plan to
Precisely,
widen existing roads?
yeah, precisely the the uh, uh, the smart city. Uh, designed. It will be designed so much so that the roads are wide, the roads are not. Uh, the roads are wide and to accommodate future expansion. And unlike the city now, okay, there's a lot of problems when you. It will take time to widen the roads because of road right-of-way problems. So this will be addressed in a master plan. Perhaps when you master plan this, you would get consultants on transportation. So these are things that are not a problem because these are things that will be considered when you are now master planning or building a smart city.
All right. So there are no plans yet as to addressing transportation issues, right?
This will be part of the so
Yeah, but
so
as of now, there are no plans yet.
as to the 174 years,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know yet. There's no master plan yet.
But
Okay.
how about the city itself, Dumaguete City or Old Dumaguete, as you
Yeah,
say?
the mainland or the old Dumaguete, we have our own way of. We have now we have the bridges that will help decongest the traffic. We are widening the roads with the DPWH. We have the diversion road. We plan to make a satellite market in Baumpandan, which will dramatically reduce traffic in the main poblacion or the poblacion area. We already have the satellite hospital, which will be in which has been started 70% complete, which will be in Talay. That will also decongest people coming to the poblacion because that will service those from the upper Dumaguete area. We are our waste disposal is already in the boundary of Kamanhak and Kandaway, which will soon be operational ang pyrolysis machine August, so much that we will no longer dump our residuals in Bayawan. So that's what we do. That's what we're
Yeah, but
doing.
it seems like in this overview that you've given, it seems like you have done a little bit of expanding to the outer parts of the city. And I think a question earlier asked, can't development go in that direction instead of reclaiming an island?
As I have said, okay, if there are at least okay, first of all, the city does not have money to expropriate to acquire lands inland. Second, if there are at least five big landowners who would first donate or allow us to acquire these properties at the assessment based on our city assessor's office, is that possible? I've laid the challenge. I have made the challenge to these individuals. But again, it's almost impossible, if not impossible, because per our experience, please take our word for it. In the making of the 20 meters wide diversion road, it took us 6 years to convince a property owner of a 100 square meter lot. We had to
Yeah.
file a case in court. So it's easier said than done.
No,
Okay?
but I think
Take
I
our
was
word for
just
it. If I had, yes.
reflecting back your overview, Mayor, kasi you gave a very nice overview of a satellite market in
Yes,
Bambandan,
uh,
a satellite hospital here, a diversion
yes.
road here. So it
But
seems
these
as
are
if
not,
that these are
yes.
things that are within the realm of possibility. And so that's
No,
just
no,
where
no,
the
because
question came from.
you're talking of 170 or at least just say 100 hectares of contiguous land. You cannot do it here. You don't have that luxury of land area without affecting your agricultural lands and your residential lands. It's you have to be practical about it. We know some things that are not known to the public. the difficulty in planning and execution. That's why it's difficult for any local chief executive to, if you don't have the political will, it's really difficult because a small landowner can make it difficult for you. See, even convincing the informal settlers to relocate to our new a new area that will be reserved for them. So this is how it is. No, we will not touch the main Dumaguete, the dry land. It would be easier to build a new area which can be master planned well.
All
Right?
right. So I
Okay.
see the vision, Mayor, is that old Dumaguete is difficult to rearrange, so to speak, and there are
Precisely.
many processes that need to be done. Very difficult to expropriate. Roads are small, and the solution to this is to build an island where there will be 174 hectares of contiguous land wherein you can implement a master plan. That's
A,
correct, right?
Ideally, yes, a master plan uh, to improve the mobility, the quality of life. Uh, it's going to be a livable place. It will include retirement villages. So these are parang under the new approach to development. We use technology now to make it easier for us. Clean water, clean air, use of renewable energy, green buildings, mostly promenade, jogging area, trees, and all these
Yeah, all
parks.
right.
So these
I
are the
think that was
appraisals.
part
Yes.
of the presentation naman.
Correct. Correct.
Let's go
Yes.
to the next question, Mr. Mayor. How is the increase in air pollution, given a larger number of motor vehicles, going to be addressed? Or is this also part of the future master plan?
You see, you may have a problem with tricycle drivers now. Actually, uh, ideally, if you go by the directives now of the national government, there's now a move to modernize transportation by using electric run motor vehicles, both private and public. So if you want quality of life, you see, uh, eventually you cannot avoid but to adapt to the changes that as the changes to really to make our city livable. But
Yeah, okay.
it may not be now. It will take
I,
it
it
will
will
take
take time.
not only time to convince the people who will be affected.
Yeah, and also I
Yes.
think there's a lot of considerations. That's what we're talking about now. Eh.
Yes, yes. Ito lang, for
Okay.
example, just the word dumaget me. It took mga 6 to 1 year to convince and to stop the bashing of the word dumaget me.
Well,
You
that's
see.
beside the
Yes.
point,
No,
Mr.
it's still
Mayor.
part. No, this is
Uh,
as simple as that.
it's
A
no,
donation of
I don't
an
think so.
obelisk.
I think we
No,
can
no.
proceed because I don't
Yes,
think this is connected na to the topic or the
it
question
is.
at hand. Eh.
No, it is
You're talking
because
about bashers,
no,
but
no, no, no.
the problem is, these are valid questions that
Yeah,
concerned
I know. I
citizens
am
are
not referring
asking.
to, no, I'm just saying that there will be always questions, even to the simplest matter of, I mean, accepting a donation of an obelisk, 50 million obelisk. You think it's all as simple as that? I thought it was as simple as that. But when we actually accepted the donation, people are starting to question it. So it's not as simple as uh, accepting a donation, even a freebie or a bonus to the city. It still could be questioned by
Yeah,
anybody.
and I think that's the
Anybody for that
reason why
matter.
there are a lot of questions now because I think
Yes,
what is clear is that this has not been a transparent process. That's why people are
uh,
asking, and so
that is
I think
what you
this
are
is
saying. What is a transparent process? The transparent process, we are now doing the rounds. We are now explaining to the public to be more
isn't it
transparent than
isn't
yes.
it after the fact already, Mayor? Don't you
No,
think?
it's not after the fact. the application has not yet been made. It can be stopped. I did not sign any document yet.
All right.
You see, this is my
Okay.
part of saying we have to be transparent, and I'm doing it now.
Okay. Moving
After
on
the
to the
fact is
next
that kung
question.
nagama na, wala na kay mahimo. Kini,
Yeah,
we
but
can
I
still
think,
do a lot.
Mr. Mayor, yung the process we talked about earlier in Section 18, which I don't want to go back to, but I think the Swiss challenge has been concluded prior to these info drives that have been made. So it seems as if an afterthought.
No,
And
it's not an
maybe
afterthought.
and
It
and
was
maybe
publicly, it was
and maybe
public.
this is the reason why, and I hope you understand that, this might be the reason why there are a lot of questions. So
Yeah,
moving on to the next question na lang. How is the increase in waste going to be addressed? Can the existing infrastructure cope, or are there additional facilities included in the plans?
that will be now. That will be the now of the master planning of that area. You see,
So not yet
yes,
available.
it should be addressed. It should be addressed. That should be addressed. They are addressing the wastewater treatment facility. Even the solid waste should be addressed. It will be
Okay.
part of the
So it's not yet in the
actual engineering.
plans now.
There is no final engineering plan yet. Okay? If you see plans, you have to see the plans. And your inputs are a decent master planner would include everything that you've said. Once you've engaged a master planner, all these things will be included. And I am not competent as a master planner to do this, but I know for a fact that once a master plan is made, all these concerns will be addressed: clean water, clean air, the the roads, the cable. Where do you, if there's you allow hanging wires there or underground cables bang gamito nimo, all this will be addressed. All these questions are actually part of the master planning. Diba? The only
Okay.
issue here is yung legal and whether we allow reclamation or not.
All right. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
going back to the matter of generating jobs. All right. So we have a question here. According to the PSA, Dumaguete's population only grew by 2.07% in 5 years, which is from 2015 to 2020, from a population of 131,377 to 134,103, or a total of only 2,726. Do you know that Qualphone Dumaguete, whose rented building occupies less than one-third hectare of land, has provided jobs for more than 3,000 individuals? Why would you need a project such as yours that destroys the environmental and cultural fabric of Dumaguete when you can merely attract companies like Qualphone's Calibers that can generate jobs that will allow the constituents of Dumaguete to have a decent living?
There are two assumptions there that I disagree. When you say it will destroy the cultural, in fact, I am the mayor who, my first project was the preservation and restoration of our city hall and creation of the Heritage Council. We do not touch the old Dumaguete. We preserve the old Dumaguete. The serenity and beauty of the old Dumaguete will never be touched. That's why we have to have a new city, which is an improved version actually, because you have master planned and controlled the development of this. All right. So there is nothing. This what you call call centers, as I said, can be also accommodated. It's part of the plan is to accommodate this call center. There will be more space for more for more call centers, to give jobs to the graduates or those even studying in college or high school. You see, the idea here is to find a contiguous area that can be master planned such that all these things will be incorporated. What we have now are patches of developments. You see, if not for the private sector, this is not city initiated. These are just spurts of development that are not planned. You see, one call center is in the west side, in the north side. there is no commonality of, there's no homogeneity, there's no coordination. All right. It's a reality that Dumaguete is growing up, not master plan, okay? Because the reality is the lands are being owned already by moneyed individuals.
Yeah,
You
but
see?
I think the crux of the question is actually the fact that for one third a hectare of land, it can generate jobs for more than 3,000 individuals. So
Yeah. So
if the question is generating jobs, would it not be fair to consider developments such as these inland, which don't need much land, and it would spare at least the ecosystems and the
yeah.
MPAs that are there in the Dumaguete coastline. I think that's
Um,
the crux of the question.
yes. You see, you're assuming that after we have a marine survey, there will be and we implement the reclamation project, there will be massive destruction. The reason for the marine survey is to avoid any destruction or damage, because this can be incorporated, this can be avoided. That is the
All right,
basis. But
but
what
I
I'm
think
saying now,
I, I think I
and
think
this,
I think, Mr. Mayor, this is a little off tangent because I think that's also an assumption that there's no massive destruction, and
no, it's
from
not an assumption because
from
it
previous
will,
speakers.
no, yes, no, because you,
Number one. Let's just say that's an assumption because you admitted that it hasn't been surveyed yet. Maybe we
yes,
can we can
no,
we can
no, yes,
agree we can
we can
agree with
agree,
that.
but
We
what
can
I'm
agree
saying,
on that. Yeah.
what I'm saying, if there will be massive destruction, I will not agree to pursuing the project. It's
Okay.
only when you,
All right.
yes, it's only when you make a survey that you will actually know. Eh, Not sure. Now, with this, let's say a building is in a half a hectare or 1 hectare property is being built. Do you know, and are you sure that there were no trees that were uprooted and they destroyed because of these buildings?
I
There will
think
always be
the point
there
the
will
point
always
of
be.
this, Mr. Mayor, is that there is this kasi marine protected areas upat kabuok, no? The City Council of Dumaguete itself issued, 'di ba? Protection to those areas.
Yeah,
So,
tingnan mo,
naay
you
assumption
have to
nga
make sure
naay
first.
marine life.
Asaman, that's
Oo,
why.
naay marine life
Yes,
diha. Oo, pero
but uh,
ang ato manggod karon, Mayor, kuan ra ha kaning ako ra tong giklaro tong question ganiha because ang punto lang gyud sa question ito ganiha is kung mahimo man di ay nga mo generate og more than 3,000 jobs using a third of a hectare of land, dili ba na siya pwede ma-explore
yes, no,
inside Dumaguete? Maura
no,
to nga point, oo.
haven't you heard what I said? Or this person who asked that question, if you want to land bank, you cannot do it in Dumaguete. You cannot do it in inland Dumaguete. Okay? So these are not, this project is initiated by the government of Dumaguete, not by a private sector. So okay man ang mga 3,000, 2,000, but you have to have a contiguous what you call a size of a land that will be economically feasible for it to grow and anticipate growth for the next 10, 20 years.
All
Because if
right.
not, 20 years, and this, remember, our project is not just for Dumaguete. It is for the entire Negros Oriental or even nearby provinces. Any
Okay.
growth, you anticipate already growth in the future. All right. So
All
this is
right.
not, maybe not for us, maybe for our
And
grandchildren.
and I think what is important na lang to highlight, Manggod, is the fact that if there will be damage, you will not proceed. I think
Yes,
maybe that's the important thing that we can
yes.
highlight.
We will have to
Uh, yeah.
open the minds of people that we have to know first the marine the ecosystem, the
All
actual
right.
topography, because
Okay.
if it cannot be incorporated, if it cannot be avoided, then I will not go for replacement.
All right.
even if it's allowed by an ECC. Ang importante kung massive yun ang sea life na mo destroyed, can it be incorporated in the design such that it can be avoided? Para bang win-win solution. You're
Yeah.
giving jobs and at the same time avoiding. That the only
Yeah.
time you will know that the actual environment, the environment underwater is that to make a survey.
All right. Okay.
I want to know actually.
I think the constituents will also be waiting in anticipation with that survey.
Yes. And I want also a participation by the stakeholders.
All right. Okay. So let's move to the next question, Mayor. Kay Anthony, kaning hapit na ta mag 10 o'clock. We have about 20 plus minutes left.
Sorry.
Kuan kaning other question dire concerning po the Chinese, no? Kaning what assurance can you give us that there won't be Chinese construction workers or hotel and hospitality employees employed while building the smart city? What assurance can you give us that the Chinese language will not be used as a precondition for employment during the building or in the management of the reclaimed area?
You know, by ordinance we can do that. All right, by ordinance we can do that. That's why we have to be vigilant. Okay, for the strict observance or enforcement of our laws. And why are we so allergic to Chinese? Okay, Madam Zara Marie D. As the Chinese blood, the economy of our country.
For the record, I am a Filipino citizen. I was born and raised in the Philippines. So I think the question here, Mr. Mayor, is the influx of mainlanders.
Okay. So you're discriminating
I think that's the question. No. The question. Hindi. The question kasi is what is the assurance na Filipino first? May question dire.
The laws are clear. The present laws of the government, you cannot import workers. They cannot be given working permits. All right. If there are available Filipinos, even Chinese Filipinos, not from the mainland, who are in Dumaguete or Negros Oriental or in the Philippines. So these are now another way of doing assurance or a safety measure is that an ordinance can be passed that only those workers which are because it will defeat our purpose. The purpose is to provide jobs for our poor people of Dumaguete and Negros Oriental. So that is our main goal. So let's be focused on that. So whatever ordinance you can make to protect the interests of locals, then we do it.
So I think the assurance, Mayor, is that an ordinance will be drafted and passed to protect the employment opportunities of locals. Kasi if we rely on national laws, I think it's important to mention that if we rely on national laws, I think we can see, like Cavite and even in Manila before the pandemic, there really was an influx of Chinese nationals, and these were mainly because of pogos and all the other related businesses. Yeah. So
remember.
I think your assurance that the ordinance can be passed, I think answers the question sufficiently. There's another question here. It touches on the environmental aspect of this planned project. It says, I would like to respectfully ask the Honorable Mayor, with all the opposition he is facing, and despite all of the facts provided by scientists and source persons saying that this is a terrible idea, why is he still pushing his agenda? If it's about let me finish. It's a bit of a long question. If it's about the economic benefits this will provide, isn't there an alternative business model that can be presented to the public? I think you've answered this. For me, building the 174-hectare smart city on reclaimed land would be the same as building it in the pristine forest of Mount Talinis and saying that it will not affect the environment and we can simply replant, transplant what was lost.
Okay. I said, can I proceed?
Yes,
Now,
yes, please.
can any environmentalist or scientist say now that he has or she has a map or an inventory of the corals or the mangroves in our marine ecosystem? Nobody has that. Only if we have that, then we will know for a fact that if there is irreparable damage, by the way, corals can be, by the way, modern technology, corals can be transferred or relocated. It can be propagated. It can be even incorporated in the design. In the olden days, or maybe 20 years ago, there is a replace. It can be replaced by artificial reef. So these are. I'm looking at a. I am not just mayor of the scientists or the affluent. I'm looking at the whole picture. If there can be a reasonable balance between satisfying and improving the lives of the people of Dumaguete Oriental, plus satisfying the protection and the preservation of the environment, then let's do it. But that is why I am really excited if we have a map, an honest to goodness map that will be also validated by the stakeholders, then let's see.
Yeah,
I'm not forcing them out. Let's see.
Mr. Mayor, I think
Yeah.
just to chime in on the map, no. I remember Dr. Rene Abisamis. He presented actually this map. It's by the it's called Allen Coral Atlas, and this is an atlas mapping the coral reef ecosystems and the seagrass ecosystems by the coastline of Dumaguete. So actually, you may have a resource person in Dr. Abisamis if you would like to see that map. Kasi,
updated as of the 2021?
This is 2020.
Oh no, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if that can be validated. I don't know how he made that map. Or is
he did not make it. I think this is funded by Alan, the founder of Microsoft, the partner of Bill Gates, and so there's an atlas, and it shows actually the area. That's why he was able to state that actually 60% of coral reef ecosystems will likely be affected. But you can have that discussion with Dr. Abisamis because he is the scientist here.
Yeah, we can invite him to witness and participate in the making of that map, in the examination of the marine life of Dumaguete, of the coastal area. Remember, the municipal waters is 15 kilometers radius. It's even bigger. Ang tubig, ang dagat is bigger than the 3,300 hectares of dry land in Dumaguete. So let's not debate on that yet. Let the process continue, and let's discuss it, diba? Now, I will require the proponent, by the way, to prove that there will be no damage or be the least damage to the ecosystem. Because if they cannot incorporate in the design, I will be the first one to say, let's not continue. But at least I can tell the poor people of Dumaguete that I tried my best and to show them scientifically that it cannot be done because of the damage to and I will and anyway, I can share you statistics, even the fisheries. Yeah.
Sige. Jumping on that, Mr. Mayor, there are questions, Manggod, kaning you mentioned the poor people of Dumaguete, and the question is, how will the smart city exactly impact the poor of Dumaguete? Is it patterned after a model here in Manila, like BGC, for example, or?
I just mentioned a BGC before because of the size, more or less. It's about 200 plus. Dumaguete is 174. No? How will it impact? Well, I'll just tell you a non, ano, let's say if you build a building, okay, in the reclaimed land, you need workers, panday, mason, etc.
Mm.
Okay, those employed in you need cabilia, you need wood, you need cement.
Yeah, all of those things that
All of
need
this,
to
this
be
is
built.
may
Yeah, yeah.
multiplier effect. May multiplier effect. So that's how it is. Now, pag nanay hospitals, create aside from the building, nahanap po yung nurses, nahanap po yung edtechs, etc. There will be resorts, there will be convention areas about to house mga 5,000 to 10,000 kanang mais bitaw, kanang itawag meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. No, that will be good for Dumaguete because Dumaguete is not actually a destination by itself. It is just a gateway to maybe Siquijor, Apo Island, and Sumilon, or even the the Oslob or Bais dolphin watching. So with the conventions that you can create, I mean 10,000 people, 5,000 people, you can make sure that they will stay here for 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days. And all this, na po yung labandera, and these are multiplier effect. So,
Kuan, pero ang growth ba, there's a question ng good here. I'll read it na lang verbatim. No?
yeah, so we know that.
How does the city government plan then for inclusive growth to ensure improvement in the lives of 12% of the population that are considered poor based on PSA latest poverty
not just
incidence
12%,
estimate?
even the rich
Pero,
people.
yeah, but I think the point of this question, Manggod, is more of how growth can be inclusive, because if we're talking about jobs for mga labandera, mga driver, mga people who will man the buildings, is there also an impact, for example, in the cost of living in the city, and will that now affect the buying power of these individuals when they earn but they cannot afford to even enjoy?
We're talking now of experts in economics, no? But I'm telling you, my analysis here is that everybody will be benefited, even the restaurant owners, the rich, the big businesses, because kung na kay buying power, kung na kay, if there are jobs, no, and na buying power most of the people, if not everyone, this will be down to buying sa mga malls, sa mga restaurants, mukaon na ng mga tao. So everybody, it's a fun. Everybody will benefit, not just the 12%, as you say, but everyone. And besides the revenues that the city will be generating will be now plowed back to the people. Okay, Makati is the smallest LGU in Metro Manila, but it reaches because of the investors. Dumaguete will try to do that. Kung naatay mga ma-generate nga revenues, then it's my dream to have a decent hospitals, to have free hospitalization and for everyone, for all the residents. Then you can plow back this to mga homeless, tagaan po na nimo sila og balay. You can subsidize even their food, their utilities. So these are things that we can do if we have dual man siya, okay? The jobs itself plus the generation of income for the city without having to rely on the national government. By the way, daghan na kayong mga agencies that will be devolved under the Duterte administration. Daghan na ma-devolve. That means a lot of money will be, kita na responsible sa mga, even mga abot ay mga teachers, apilo na galit tingali na, medical. Daghan na ka ma-devolve na agencies. That's why, also in anticipation of that, Dumaguete has to paddle its own canoe to be creative, to generate its own income, all right, so that we will not be reliant on the national government. All right, more na itong damgo. Let's have an open mind. Let's go through the process. Let's find out if what you're saying or what I'm saying is true or not. Kung naay mga ma-affected na environment. Sige, let's see. If it cannot be done, it cannot be done.
Well, going back to the question of katong jobs and then increased income, kuan man gud to Mayor kaning, although admittedly we are not economics experts, pero there was there are man gud kanang mga gina-release nga studies ba nga worst worst cost of living or kanang lowest quality of life. And Manila actually, and this is not Dumaguete na ha, but just additional info, Manila is actually on the bottom of this because in Manila, it says that the estimated average monthly cost of living for a single person is 50,798, pero the average salary of a person in Manila is only about 18,900 per month. So this is just one of the studies that show that sometimes growth is not inclusive. That's why these individuals who populate, let's say, Metro Manila, the city centers, they can't even afford to live there. They have to travel outside, maybe commute 2-4 hours each way because they cannot afford to live in the center. So, this is an actual study. Yeah, I was just saying that
the reality is that there are a lot of informal settlers, there are a lot of jobless. You see, and it is the best way we know how to help them. So if there are alternatives, concrete alternatives, I am willing to listen, and I am listening.
Okay.
So do not say it's difficult because us in government, without being so arrogant or being self-righteous about it, we know there are things that we know, facts that we know, and experience that are not known by the common people. Those who criticize, those who make comments. That's why sometimes, unless we are able to speak and make known the real score, then we will not agree, or we will just
I think this is exactly the purpose of this dialogue right now, Mr. Mayor. That's why thank you very much for engaging, because these are very difficult questions that are being asked of you. But also, I hope it's not difficult. I stand corrected, but I think they were expecting more concrete plans as opposed to just, we will come up with the master plan, we will discuss it later, etc. So that's the problem here. So
putting the cart before the horse. Wala pa galing, question pa galing ni mong project, how can you proceed? When you talk about master planning,
ang pangutana manggod from the very beginning, na-studyohan ba siya? So, I'm gonna go jump into a question that I have in front of me.
Diba?
This connects to the discussion we're having now. So, ang pangutana, what efforts have the city government made in order to get a preliminary assessment of the impact of the project from the environmental and socio-economic perspectives for its own understanding, and in order to reach the conclusion that this project would be in the best interest of the people of Dumaguete and therefore worth seeking the approval of the relevant national agencies?
Okay, you should do this. The only way to know this is we go through the process. You just have to trust the agencies that will require us to submit or to present all this documentary, those feasibility, etc., etc. So unless you go to the process, you would not know actually, because first of all, there are no, as of this moment, there are no concrete, final, detailed engineering plans. We have not yet.
I mean, just to narrow down, Mayor, no, kay hapit na 10 o'clock. Ang pangutana ra kay naabay preliminary assessment of the impact, so that the city can say na, okay, we're gonna pursue this. What I'm understanding is wala. It's the process. It's the process that will determine it. Sakto ba?
Let me correct you. There is an initial feasibility study made. There are cost estimates. There are revenue estimates. It's all submitted by the proponent. Nasa unsolicited proposal. All these are there. All right. So based on the assessment by the selection committee, it is a viable project. But as to the final plans and the actual enforcement of these plans, wala pa kay. You have to go through first to have a marine study. That's what I said. Okay, then the agencies will limit or add, can limit your project to, okay, just the wastewater treatment facility and a piece of land, 50 hectare or 30 hectares. So it's not the it's not our call yet. This is not the final call on the city of Dumaguete, because these are the agencies that will limit us, that will control us, that will advise us on what to do. So in effect,
Okay. So
it's feasible.
wala pay. So unsa may punto ani Mayor, naamoy preliminary assessment, and sa inyong assessment maayo ang impact sa project, sakto ba?
Sa selection committee yes, na ay mga revenue stream na projections, na initial feasibility study. So it's equal.
So i-release ba ni mga information kay murag daghan kay nangutana ganahan pud sila makabalo. Murag wala mo pud siya, dili siya public knowledge ba?
The problem is that before the selection committee could present sa council or come up with this, naunahan naman. For example, wala pa gali kabalo mo, wala pa gali tay marine study, nag-oppose na, for example. So I don't really mind that, because okay lang
ang dili man gud kay mobalik na pud ani sa procedure
wala because without you, okay, those remember, those who opposed, okay, those who already give the written opposition have not seen these documents, or they just assume that since they do not know about these documents, the project is bad, the project is illegal.
No. I think the point here, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor. I think the point. No. Wait. Let's recalibrate. No, I think the point lang is that these documents should have been public knowledge, because there are consultations that need to be had prior to getting to that stage. So in the interest of it's in the PPP code, the 2021 PPP code. And transparency is an operative principle there. So I think it's not fair to say that people are not being diligent. They want to see because they haven't seen it. So I think maybe to resolve this, maybe what we can do na lang to resolve this, Mr. Mayor, is that since the oppositors, I'm assuming, are watching right now, then maybe you can make a commitment to release these documents so that they can have a look.
It will be released. In fact, these documents have a huge part of these documents have already been given to the public by a member of the selection committee.
Can you give a point person that they can write a letter to ask for copies of these studies and these documents?
Just wait for the selection committee to present before the council within the week, and all this will come out.
All right. So within the week. Okay.
Yes. Then the problem is ganito yan eh. Before giving the government, before asking questions, that's what you're doing now. There was already a huge opposition, and maybe so naunahan na, in other words. That's why we have classified those who are opposing it. Those who are opposing it because they're scared. Those who are opposing it because but those opposing it because they just want to oppose it. And regardless of how much we explain to them, it will not matter at all. So these are kinds of opposition.
But I think, Mr. Mayor, I think maybe for purposes of our discussion, let's just stick to the assumption of good faith, because we started on that footing we started on that footing, and let's try to answer more questions with maybe a little extension na lang, kasi it's difficult to impute certain things we do not know. Okay, so there's a question here. Why are the city officials defending EM Cuerpo's proposal instead of the company itself being the ones to present themselves?
No, by the way, under our charter, it's the city government was the power to reclaim. Okay, it's not within the private entity.
Yeah, I think the question was where is EM Cuerpo?
Can you please let me continue? No? I understand your question. When the PPP contract, when the unsolicited proposal was accepted by the city, because when you present an unsolicited proposal, now may counter proposal sa city, and then a final proposal. It's now a project of the city. It's not just the proponent. Besides, that's why there's a resolution from the council now because of this misconception, this fake news and all, to ask questions. Okay, to ask directly to the proponent to answer all these questions. But it's really embarrassing because once the documents will be presented, all these questions will be answered. So I'm just telling you to allay the fears. All these pertinent documents will be shown. Okay, but we thought that those who already some lawyers have already come out in the Facebook giving all these documents. We thought that they already have copies of the documents, but apparently there is still a confusion with as to the capability, etc., etc. Anyway, to cut the story short, it will be these documents will not be the stakeholders will not be deprived of these documents.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, I think we got that. You will be releasing it within this week. Is that correct?
The selection committee was asked to present the process with all the documents.
All right.
So these documents are already with us. So we are not defending the Cuerpo, but we are defending the process. The selection committee has all these documents and as basis for the approval of the unsolicited proposal. So we are just saying that we have all these documents. That's why it is just fitting and proper that the selection committee will present the process and the documents as basis for their decision. That's why they recommended to me. Ako may last na to. Pag nilang process, I was not part of the process. Ilan na because they're independent. Okay, but they will just recommend to me muna ilang na pasadahan. All right.
But so, did you not give the MOU to the city council for their approval?
Yes, but the MOU is not the PPP contract.
Yeah, but that was part of the process, wasn't it?
No, yeah, the process. Di ba I told you already that the MOU is not the PPP contract. That's why we differ. If you have any question about that.
Oh, but that sounds okay. That's why anyway, I'm sorry. I apologize because you were talking about you saying that you are not part of the process, but then you were the one who endorsed the MOU. So
I am not part of the selection process.
Splitting hairs here. Okay.
No. I'm not part of the selection process. Once they recommended to me, then parang baton na. It was now my baton to the council that before I apply with the PRA, okay, not a MOU, not a PPP contract, just to make sure that the developer will be the one to pay all these things and to pay all the fees, and then to make sure that we have a basis to say to PRA na, look, we are not the ones bankrolling this. Somebody is bankrolling it for us. Then may ng PRA. What's your proof nga sila mo bankroll? nami ko ano, nami MOU. Di ba? That's how we look at it.
All right.
I
Okay.
respect whatever opposing or contrary views on that, but there are ways of doing that, no?
Yeah, I think the initial question lang is why is EM Puerpo not the one answering questions on the 174-hectare reclamation?
I know, as I said, we have a formal inquiry to the Puerpo now to answer these questions. But embarrassingly, I'm embarrassed because these questions are actually found in the already in the thick documents that were submitted to the selection committee. I am just sad. I am disheartened by the fact that before hearing all this, the side of government, daghan na kayo. I can cite you a lot of misconception, misinterpretation, etc., etc. So thank you for this opportunity. No, I hope people have an open mind until they see all these documents. Not just the documents. First, we are burdened with the environmental issue. And that's for me the most important because kung documents na pag-usapan, kung natay legal dispute, we know the arbiter. It's only the courts. All right? Pag environment, okay, mayroong DNR ang arbiter. Meron ang PRA ang arbiter. So, we just have to respect the process. If you disagree with the findings, then let DNR decide. But ako, I want to know personally because I am also, believe me or not, believe you me, I am an advocate for the protection of the environment. That's why I want to know what type of plants or corals will be affected because I want to avoid them. I want to avoid them.
There's a comment here nga why not involve the Silliman Marine Laboratory to do the survey? I think you mentioned, right, that you will be working with them.
Magkakoy kuan, di ba? Na may mga Silliman, I was made to understand that they're well,
daghan.
No, they can observe or participate. They're stakeholders, di ba? Pero ang problema lang, kasi we just want to know where these are, the corals are.
Sige. Okay. All right. Question dire related siguro nito katong claims na fake news etc. Ako lang basahon. Another question here, why do you insist that people are making unfounded assumptions through social media when the fact is you denied the stakeholders a public consultation? Would you rather put a stop to this, what you call imagination, by having a multi-stakeholder public consultation? Is that an option, sir?
Well, I've been doing that. The problem is when I invite, for example, okay, I've invited some sectors. They do not They refuse. They refuse or they don't have time to attend. I asked for a representative of Silliman University to attend.
All right, but would you be open to doing something in the future, maybe to involve everybody?
I am doing that already. Already.
All right. Okay. So there's another.
Because I am also concerned. I'm also aware, conscious of the fact that there are just people who can no longer be convinced because they have made up their minds. But I am trying hard or doing my best to elucidate or to enlighten those who are still open-minded. Yun lang naman.
I think for the general public, for those who would like to know.
I assume that majority are still open-minded.
All right.
That's why I'm doing this.
Moving on. There is a comment here. High fecal coliform does not warrant a huge reclamation project. Smart city will not guarantee to solve the unemployment problem, the need for waste. Let me finish. I'll finish this na lang. The need for wastewater treatment facility would not require a huge 174-hectare reclamation. What is the compelling reason to have such an excessive and extreme solution to your perceived current and medium-term problems of the city? And Mr. Mayor, before you answer, I would just like to assure you that I did hear what you said earlier about how we need contiguous land and a place to properly map out all of these things because this is difficult to navigate in the current Dumaguete. But if there's anything you can add to that.
Okay. no, don't confuse this with the wastewater treatment facility. Ang wastewater treatment facility is one of the attributes of a smart city. I was just mentioning that, okay? And and uh, and all these things that I have already mentioned, it's close to impossible. If it's for me, it's impossible to achieve this this to get to land bank a contiguous at least even 50 hectares. It's almost impossible. Now, I am focused on the goal of providing. It is my belief and my strategy to have a sustainable solution to the age-old problem of poverty and unemployment in the city and the province. For the longest time, wala pa ko'y concrete na solution siya without having to rely on the national government. Okay, self-help. This is my goal. I may be, if you think I'm wrong, then I I still believe, no, that many of the what do you call it, silent majority are there just waiting and listening if we can do it. Okay, we wouldn't know. For example, I can even submit this matter to a plebiscite, or rather a referendum.
That's good that you mentioned that there is a silent majority. There was a question earlier that was asked: which groups have written statements in support of 174? Can you name groups that have expressed their support?
Remember, it's not as easy as that, because this the silent majority, they come to us. They don't want to put they reduce their support in the Facebook or any in writing for fear of being bashed. You know, it's really a fact that these bashers, I'm not saying these bashers, there are bashers who hit people below the belt. All right, this is a reality. If you, no, meaning they do not argue on the level of objectivity. Daghan accusation. Then imagine saying that the 230 million gibahin-bahin na sa mga konsehal, daghan na kay mga istorya. These are the things that are not good for the society. Pero magdili na gentle ning
right. Course, and I think what we're doing now actually to bring it out in the open, to have some transparency. I think that's the solution to the speculation, because when there's no information, when there's no information available, Manggod, I mean, you have to admit, Mr. Mayor, you're saying that these information will be presented pa this week. Right, and so many things have erupted, and the public has.
No, it does not give one a license for lack of information.
No. I agree with you, but I think what I'm trying to draw your attention. What I'm trying to draw your attention to is the purpose of our discussion tonight. We're trying to uncover all of these things that may give reason for that. It's not justifying that, not at all. And so I hope that this venue that we have actually would be a place where, some answers were heard, right?
I hope and I would assume that they are made in good faith. But once you hit somebody below the belt, it means that you're running out of good ideas. Pangalawa, it's now bordering on bad faith. It's now bordering on bad faith, because
I think
the city of gentle people, it should not be a license to invent.
I think that's beside the point.
It's not beside the point.
No. I mean, the point of having good ideas, because if anything, Mr. Mayor, the questions this evening have been very thoughtful and have been very.
I'm not referring to this. Let's not
have been very factual. I'm just saying that, the questions, they're very thoughtful, they have basis, and so maybe we can just stick to that, because to engage in a discussion about bashers,
I'm just telling you,
beyond it's beyond the scope of our topic already this
No,
evening.
no, no. I'm just telling you the frustration of a government official who is always the subject of this bashing
Yeah, but
of
I
this.
think
Yeah,
I
yes. I'm just
understand.
saying
It's not easy. It's not
it's
easy,
not
but
easy.
it's part of public office, and I hope that you will also
No.
understand. I hope you will also understand, no, that there is also a frustration on the side of the public, and
No, 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 in public.
that's what we're seeing now. So I hope
Uh,
let's give it the benefit of the doubt, Mr. Mayor, because you said, we'll assume that there's good faith. Let's look at it from that perspective. And what we're
okay,
doing now
okay.
is we're trying to sort of, you know,
Are you
lay the
serious about
facts.
that? Or if you're serious,
Yeah,
then I will give you the benefit of doubt. Okay.
yeah, of
So, Ganito,
course.
you were asking me about are there groups? Okay. If I can
Mm.
show you, for example, endorsements or support from the barangays, will you be contented with that? Who and these elected officials are have been elected with the people? Will you be contented with that? All right. You
It's
see,
not me. You can present
no,
it
no,
to
no,
the
no, no, no.
public,
I'm
but
telling you, no,
I
no,
think
no, no.
I think
I'm telling
I
you.
think for
Yeah,
purposes of fodder, no, food for thought,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it might be nice to hear from fellow constituents, because if you say
Yes,
Mangod
yes.
Barangay, and this is just me,
Oh,
my
uh-huh.
personal
Okay,
opinion, no?
okay,
When you
okay,
say that, will you be satisfied with that with the barangay? It's good to
of course.
present, yes,
Yes.
but I think that there might be a question raised na, well, that's the barangay, they'll get support from the mayor. So
No, no, no,
maybe
no. So
no, no, no. I'm just saying. I'm
because
just saying that's a
no, no,
possible.
no.
That's a
There's
possible question that will be
yeah.
raised.
For
So
those who do
that's
not
why I'm
believe,
going back. That's why I'm going back to,
no,
maybe
no.
are there other
Okay, I'll
proponents?
tell
I
you.
mean,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
supporters that you can name.
No, no.
Uh,
I'll tell you. Supporters. Okay. Do you think in 2 days I received a lot of the signatures. I have not even validated that. If for a fact I know that a number of those who are opposing are outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines. Alumni association based in the US, etc., from this school. I'm not downgrading or their concern. But I am also mayor of barangay officials. They were crying. They are the frontliners. They see the squalor, the they are the first line of defense. They're the first people that the poor people or those who are in need, those who are hospitalized, they go to them. If they cannot satisfy them, they go to the mayor or even to the congressman. So these are realities that we see every day. So that's why it's difficult. It's different when Juan Hirakankada Founders Day enjoy 2 weeks in Dumaguete. They think the boulevard is Dumaguete, di ba? Wala, it's different. I live, the
I think
congressman,
I
myself,
think that
we'll
might
see
be,
them every day.
maybe to just move the discussion forward, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor, no?
so
That
what I
that
mean
might
is,
be an unfair statement to make, because most of the
really?
people who are talking and asking these questions are residents, not visitors, not
Not
visitors of
all.
Dumaguete. So
That's why.
maybe we can
Most,
move
yeah,
on.
okay.
Maybe we can
Yeah,
move on from that, because I don't think it's a
okay.
productive discussion.
No, I'm just
Maybe
saying.
to wrap up this
Oh, okay.
evening, there's a
Oh,
question here. There's a question here, that says, if, for example, this project won't push through, what is your alternative proposal to generate jobs for the people of Dumaguete? Will you be inviting investors to buy land from Dumaguete locals instead, so that the government won't have to shell out extra funds?
the investors from buying land to get it and to do what? To do the private business?
Yeah, maybe put up BPOs that can generate 3,000 plus jobs or something of that sort. I think the question is just asking if there are alternative plans if the project doesn't get approved.
Project is to get approved.
Mhm.
You know, you cannot get the desired number of quality investors because we don't have a place which is a desirable place, which is master planned, which is available, okay, which is contiguous, which is well planned, and naanay mga facilities to attract the quality investors. All right. So sa karon, we will be depending upon private individuals who own lands scattered. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's really difficult. This is a city project. It's a city plan, and the city directs, meaning it's controlled by it's within the control of the city, not within the control of private individuals. Difficult. I'm telling you, muasa ka sa private citizen, wala, you cannot it's impossible to get all these investors together and make it an attractive offer, an attractive place to invest in, unless you have.
Mhm.
And I'm telling
So
you,
Dumaguete as it
you may
is.
disagree. You may disagree, but that is precisely the reason why we have reclamations in, or in Metro Manila now. Four big ones, five big ones approved by the PRA. I can name your names. No, sa Navotas, 576 hectares. Horizon Manila, 419. Manila Waterfront, 318. Pasay Development, 265. And Manila Solar City 143. Mas dako pag yun ang kuan kanang sa Cebu, Cordova 1,500, because dili na nila ma-master plan kasi the old way of doing things wala na, hodgepodge na ang development. It's difficult now to rearrange, okay, and destroy a lot of people and a lot of properties, or them you rearrange them. And the attitude plus the attitude of people, lisod na kayo. That's why these developments are sprouting to really attract investors. We have to be globally competitive. Now, if not, maybe we can just send our graduates to Cebu nearby, di ba? Muna effect. We are trying to prevent the OFWs or families from being split up, broken families because of distance, because they have to work outside Dumaguete City or Negros Oriental. So yun lang naman eh. So it's, I said, easier said than done. Okay?
So you're saying that I mean, I just wanted to clarify. You think that the reclamation projects in Manila and Cebu are equivalent or comparable to what Dumaguete is going to do or intends to do? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that these are precisely sprouting because of the need to attract these investors, to improve the quality of life, all right, to make a master plan that it's going to be palatable to these investors. We are competing with them. Cebu is the nearest, napoy Bacolod, napoy Iloilo. We are competing. Okay? So kung dili na ito mahimo ning ato, and then ay 1,500 sa Cebu, my God knows the environmental impact of 1,500 hectares of reclamation. Okay? I hope this will not be approved by the DNR because of even considering the magnitude of the project. Unsa man? What will the DNR or PRA say? So muna ikuan,
pero I think siguro ang kuan lang,
considering.
I understand what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say is that to be competitive, to invite investors to come in and to be able to have the ability for these investors to create jobs, the 174 reclamation is necessary. And in fact, such projects are being done in other parts of the country. That's what you're saying, right?
Bigger projects.
Bigger projects, right? I think maybe just to, I think the note that I want to add lang siguro is that the question, there was a question kasi na kanang, is it comparable? And you're saying it's bigger, but I think maybe what the attendee is driving at is the impact on the ecosystem in those areas. And so we're not scientists. We won't be able to definitively say, but I think the uproar in Dumaguete is that there are 4 marine protected areas along the stretch of the coastline that is subject for reclamation.
Even as a layperson, I can say already with all, with all belief and honesty, Navotas is a fishing area of
Correct.
part of Metro Manila, and 576 hectares is in Navotas, and I cannot believe how they have justified that with PRA and DNR. So that's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, as a layperson, just by the magnitude, I am assuming that the magnitude, there's also a magnitude of effect on the environment. Kung dili nila iwasan na, kung dili sila mo integrate, dako silang problema, dako silang gastos. But ako, sa Dumaguete, we have to find out, I will have to repeat, we first survey the ecosystem of Dumaguete and really find out for ourselves and for those who are opposing it, how does it look like? Can we have a compromise here? Can it be mitigated? Can it be integrated? Then we will decide. Diba?
All right.
We'll decide. That's as simple as that.
So, Mr. Mayor, murag ni overtime ta, maybe 30 minutes. Before we end the night, would you like to have, maybe your last words to the listening public?
Okay. I hope that people, the majority, will have an open mind on this. This is not a done deal. Okay, I have not signed anything. I have not yet applied. Okay, there will be a marine survey, supposedly within this week or for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I will be, as soon as I get the final word or date of the arrival of the participants of the survey, then I will inform the public about this so they can observe. Also para ilon nga wala ni magic. All right? Those who oppose can do also their own survey, and the DNR actually is the final arbiter of this. There will be people from DNR. I will invite the people from DNR para makita nila. Then the next step is I will require, okay? I will demand from the proponent to integrate or avoid any damage to the environment. If they cannot do it, there's no deal. Okay? All right. So ako lang, the public should be, have an open mind. Forget all this bashing and forget all this, that do not really matter. In terms, they don't have any bearing on the process. Okay, the process is long. Moagi pa ganas PRA, Philippine Reclamation Authority, which is being advised by the NEDA and the Department of Finance, the DNR, whether mo issue silang ECC or not, or perhaps let's create a movement to abolish PRA and DNR para wala nang ECC, wala nang reclamation. PRA is Philippine Reclamation Authority. Abolish that kung ayaw natin, di ba? There's a big howl here. I mean, let's be consistent also. Diba? This is off ko na, diba? This will be another discussion if I say what happens to what are we doing with the existence of several quarries here in Negros Oriental. Is there any howl? There are reclamation projects of DOTR and DPWH. Is there any howl for a demand for ECC? It's not, because these are legitimate government projects. So I am for the people. I am for the environment. But I want to find out, I want to be guided intelligibly on what to decide henceforth by empirical evidence. Okay? Makita gyud nato. Then I will tell the poor people na nga, murag dili feasible kay daghan ka mga igo corals, unya dili mabalhin. Kung mabalhin, yes. Kung ma-propagate, yes. Kung ma-integrate, yes. Pero I will not even use the formula used by former DNR secretary in 1995, an undersecretary, for replacement of destroyed corals and mangroves and trees. Replacement of the same quantity. I will not even go to that extent because maybe at that time, dili pa man high-tech ang atong gobyerno. Wala pa may, di pa kayo advance ang atong science. But with the advancement of science, it can already be done. A balance between the preservation of the environment and also attend to the needs of our economy. So ganun lang. So I hope mawala na ning kuan. You hear it from us directly because in fact I don't know if it's misgivings, but I understand those who were opposing the project were already spoke before this program, before I did, di ba? In fact, I have misgivings because kanang atong 1.9 expansion hectares lang expansion of the Pantawan 3, the Catholic Church was already sponsored a public forum which I was not even invited to speak, and they already concluded, and that's the misgivings I have. I was promised that I would have the government side will be heard. We just want to be heard. Okay?
And I hope, Mr. Mayor, tonight,
Okay.
I hope tonight you felt that the government side was adequately aired and heard. And
with your incisive questions, yes. Yes.
I'm also just trying to get a little bit of clarity. I hope you don't mind.
Okay. No, I don't mind. The more incisive, the better for me.
Right. So
All right.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for the effort that you put in to answer all of these questions tonight. We went way over time, but on behalf of the Dumaguete City Host Lions Club and the Rotary Club of Dumaguete South, Mayor, thank you so much for your presence. And to the audience who has stayed until 10:34 this evening, thank you so much for staying. You asked the mayor answered, and as much as we would have wanted to ask all the questions that were sent in, oh my goodness, over 150 questions, we apologize because of the time constraints. So with that, I would like to thank everyone, and just stay tuned for a few more announcements. For the rest of the week, we will have additional events on August 11, Wednesday. That is the human impacts and the current status of Philippine coral reefs. And on August 12, Thursday, coral reef restoration. So if you haven't liked the FB page yet of Learning Event Series, please do like it so that you would be updated on the upcoming events. Zoom recordings of these sessions, if you want to share, if you want to review, if you want to fact check, they're going to be uploaded on YouTube, which you can access as well. You can subscribe there. And should you have any advanced questions for the next events this week, you can send a message to our Facebook page. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for your patience, for your time tonight. And I continue to pray for the city. May we continue to live up to our name of being a city of gentle people. Maayong gabi.